It is breaking news right now that Russia did strike back, and so we have Tim Pool kind of covering that right here, so we can jump into that.
It is now being reported that Russia has fired an intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM. This particular device was called a MIRV, Multiple Independently Targeting Re-Entry Vehicle, and it's designed to deliver nuclear payloads. Now, the strike, as it's being reported right now, does not appear to be a nuclear strike, but this would be the first time in history an ICBM has been used in war. The missile struck the city of Dnipro in Ukraine and is a dramatic escalation of the conflict, which may be bubbling up into a more serious international crisis, more so than it already is. We are currently in a cycle of escalation with news of 2 deep-sea internet cables being severed. Now, the initial reporting was maybe it was a ship dragging anchor, but now we are hearing that a Chinese vessel has been detained, and they believe this may have been a direct act of sabotage. Severing communications is typically the first move made in modern warfare to prevent the enemy forces from being able to communicate effectively. Now, there's many means of communication through satellite. I don't know that undersea cables are severing them will inhibit the majority of communications, but it certainly will inhibit. I got to say, the use of an ICBM, and there's video, we'll play these videos for you, it's shocking. Look, my friends, I've been saying this for some time now. I believe Russia will use nuclear weapons. And understand that does not mean intercontinental ballistic missiles. I'm talking about nuclear artillery on the battlefield. But with the escalation we're seeing now, I fear it may be more serious than that. Russia has lowered the threshold for the use of nuclear weapons, which is effectively saber rattling. Vladimir Putin doesn't need to issue a declaration announcing, yeah, we're going to make it easier to fire nukes. He could literally just fire nukes if he wants to. But the Russian nuclear doctrine being revised was a signal to the West. If Ukraine uses U.S. long-range missiles, we will escalate. And Ukraine did. Biden authorized it. Now, my fear, as I have been stating now for several months, is that U.S. deep state intelligence machines, that whatever you want to call it, they would be pushing for an escalation of war to prevent Donald Trump from being able to stop it once he gets in office. Now, last night, Milo Yiannopoulos joined us.
That's what I wanted to ask. Why? Because you know it was not Biden.
Yeah. Well, I will say I called this. As soon as Trump got in office, I look at Victoria and I go, I hope they don't start World War III before. That's literally what I said. I don't think I'm any type of prophet, but I just started piecing it together.
It is like the pettiest, lowest, cruelest, most inhumane. Do you know what I mean? And I think I just can't. I know that I'm conservative and maybe I'm in a conservative bubble, but
yeah.
But I truly cannot put myself in those people's shoes and think of any other reason to do something like that.
I've thought about this quite a bit, and I think part of it is due to this detachment from reality, where it's so detached from the fact that real people are dying.
Yes.
All over the place. And even, simple things like our phone batteries, right? Like these Chinese-owned cobalt mines that are all over Africa that are using women and children to mine this stuff at pennies on the dollar, and we get our iPhones.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know, for some reason, it seems like it's become easier and easier and easier to just turn a blind eye. And it seems like more people
I think, I think part of it, I saw this meme today and it was not a meme. It was too painful to laugh at to be a meme. But it was this son, and he was all stressed out. And the mom was the son was I don't want to go to war. And the mom said, don't be selfish. We need to have a first woman president.
Oh gosh.
And I truly think there is some kind of the pride, the deep inhumanity and the pride of the overlords. I know how I sound. Listen, I am not tone deaf. I
feel
hear
like-
myself speak, which is why I don't want to say it. But I truly, when I put myself in their shoes, like that there's this deep pride and inhumanity that's like, we can just send these young men to die to play our games.
Why is it that I feel like more Christian YouTubers and more conservative YouTubers and podcasters, everybody's starting to sound more like Alex Jones? Like as time goes on, it's
Somebody
like
had to lead the way, I guess.
yeah.
Godly.
So how do Christians respond? Like let's say this escalates all the way or it doesn't. How are we to respond to this? Because obviously we can pray and we
Yeah.
probably don't pray enough.
Yeah.
But like emotionally, practically on a day-to-day basis, like do you have any idea of how you would respond or how we ought to respond?
Man, I think because I am a reverend, because I'm a minister with a recognized church, I will not get drafted.
Right. Which would you say is a positive for you, considering you have kids?
Because I have kids and I don't believe in this fight. Yeah, it's totally positive.
Okay, so I am also credentialed, and I said a similar thing, and I forgot that our cousin is active. Well, he just retired, but he was active
Active duty?
Air Force
Okay.
for a long time. And he looks at me, and this is at Thanksgiving last year, something like that. He goes, "You trying to dodge the draft?" And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to dodge the draft.
Yeah.
But
I think that there are, here's what I know. I know that there are many brave Christian men who have gone before us, who have had to face times like these, and we have not needed to study them, and we're coming up on that time where we need to figure this out. So here's what I do know. All I know is that you do need to have an answer, and it's ironic for me to say that and not have an answer.
yeah.
But I think that everybody needs to get an answer, because when the time comes and you got to stare somebody in the face and give them an answer, you have to give them an answer from the bottom of your gut that you're willing to go to the line for. And that's, whatever it is, if it's like, I'm going to go do this thing so that I can win souls, like I'm going to be on the front lines with the guys who are suffering to win souls, or I'm going to serve my country to be around people to help in this time of need. Or if it's a conscientious objector, like you just have to have an answer that you're willing to go all the way down to the bottom for.
When I watched the movie Hacksaw Ridge,
I still have not seen it.
dude, it's about a Seventh-day Adventist.
Right.
That
He wants to be a conscientious objector because he won't kill anybody.
he won't even carry a weapon.
That's right. Yeah.
And I don't know if they, fluffed up the story some or whatnot, but the movie absolutely left me wanting to be as noble as I can in my
Right.
life. And so there is something about that, like that we all know, that self-sacrifice where like putting your life on the line for the sake of other people.
Right.
And it is like there's this amazing thing to it. And obviously like it does get a little bit more complicated when you're like, why the heck are we at war?
Yes.
Especially like with the Ukraine-Russia war, where you're like, okay, there's like young men hiding in bunkers that are getting these like kamikaze drones just dropped on them. And it's like, why are we doing this?
Why?
We're
are
not
we doing this?
accomplishing anything.
So that if there is any positive, there is no positive to war. But if there would be one, it would be the psychological effect of like that kind of nobility and doing it for each other. As far as I understand, when you get down to it, the guys on the front lines, they very rarely have any idea of fighting for their nation. at the very, like when you get down to it and bullets are flying,
It's like fighting for your brother.
you are fighting for the guy next to you.
Yeah.
That is it. And I don't think, listen, I'm spitballing here, but I don't think if a Christian were to go and say like, this is for my friends, this is for my family, this is for the other guys that are out there, I need to be there for them. You know what I mean? It does not have to be, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
It's
I need to figure
complicated.
it out because
Yeah.
we're about
It
to
seems
have
like
to give an answer.
it seems like we're there. And we've kind of felt this coming for a while, but
I never thought they would do it. Oh gosh, I really thought Trump would help us. Oh gosh.
but I mean, it's not for sure yet, is it? Or are we in it?
They shot the missile. Putin said, if you shoot the missile, and they shot the missile. They did it. So we need to get an answer.
Okay, question. Do you think we're at the point of, I don't know what your knowledge on this subject is, but do you think we're at the point of nuclear fallout being a possibility? And how does that align with your understanding of
Here's what
prophetic history?
here's what I understand. There was a lot. I think I'm kind of fuzzy on this, but I think they spent a long time during the Cold War, like just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger bombs until, Kurtz Kassat came out with this video that was like, this guy literally made a bomb that would blow up the entire world. And he's like, if it's going to be mutually assured destruction, why not? And it's just like, okay, this is insane. And the government didn't approve as far as we know, the government did not approve the creation of that weapon.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, they were like, okay, this is ridiculous. And so instead of going all the way up, they started scaling back down and
For like precision strikes.
creating, I think they call them tactical nukes, where you could use them on the battlefield. Hey, there are the guys right there. Use the nuclear bomb. And it's not just for massive effect. It's for actual warfare use.
I do think you're right about the psychological effect. And we saw similar things happen in COVID, where there seemed to be like some sobering up of like the Western church from like the things that we're consumed by.
Yeah.
And we slowed down. It's like, wait, I have time to pray. And so you were really confronted with this choice of like, well, now are you going to pray or are you not?
Yeah.
Like you're no longer have the excuse of the busyness. You can't go anywhere.
And especially for us, kind of in the Bible Belt, there's kind of this like slow, day by day by day by day, the effect of Christianity or the kind of pleasantness or kind of positive general influence of Christianity is declining day by day by day. And then all of a sudden in March, it breaks and they're like, church is not essential. And you have to decide like, whoa. This was a long slide down here. And now all of a sudden church is not essential. What do I do?
Yeah.
And people made their choices.
Have you heard of the First Liberty Institute? So it's a law firm that represents Christian and some other, they've represented some Jewish churches and different churches and these Christian problems. And they won like record-breaking cases during that time to like basically anywhere I know in Texas, it's like established now through these court cases that you can no longer restrict. You shouldn't have been able to per the Constitution before, but now there is like direct precedence for you cannot tell people you can't show up to church, and you can't. And specifically, you can't stop people from hosting house churches.
And so that's the thing is, if you are a pastor and you look back on that time and you think to yourself, oh, they were well within their rights. Like if I had stood on this hill and tried to die on this hill, I would have won. And if you're not kicking yourself and being like, I was such an idiot, if you're like, I did the right thing, I loved my neighbor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
you're seeing that with
you broke the wrong way.
You're seeing that with the vaccine lawsuits right now too.
Golly,
there was just like a $12 million case that someone won,
and I think
for their company forcing them to do it.
that thing where if you're a pastor or even just a church member and you look back on that time and you're like, I was wrong. You know, if I had died on that hill, I would have won. It would have been the right thing. And you're thinking to yourself, like, I wouldn't do that again. I think we're about to,
Yeah.
we're about to be, we're like another break, another decision, another wake up call where Christians have got to make the right move, and you don't want to look back in another 2 years and think I made the wrong move then. Which is just back to my point of saying, like, we got to get an answer, which is ironic that I don't, but we got to.
I don't know if it's just me or like the media or whatever. I would say like I'm pretty attuned to this stuff, but it seems like a public repentance and like saying, oh man, I messed up and I did the wrong thing is not as common as it should be.
As it should be. It should be a lot more common.
Oh, yeah. But have you seen a decline in that? Because it seems like...
I don't think I've ever seen it happen. Ever.
Right.
I remember one time in my church growing up, that happened.
Mm.
And that was the most shocking, most incredible. I mean, incredible, like I couldn't believe it. Not credible. I would not. That was the most incredible Sunday I ever experienced. Mm. That people actually got up, and it was not like, you're at church, but it was a recognition like, we are a family. We did something wrong. We have to own up to it in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And that, my jaw hit the floor that somebody actually stopped pretending and playing church and actually did church and owned up to something wrong that they did and said sorry in front of everybody. It was unbelievable. Yeah. And it was a powerful day. It was really, I think it changed something.
Yeah. And so I think the last thing I would say on the subject of war and is exactly what you said. Of the positive to it is we get to see more authenticity come out, in people, because reality slaps you in the face. You can no longer just live in this bubble of like, wow, we get to wear Gucci and go to church or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, Jesus, that's part of the prayer that Christians are supposed to pray every day. Please God, don't test me.
Yeah.
But God will pressure his people into tests not for his sake, primarily for your sake.
Yeah.
So that you have the chance to prove yourself and you realize what's inside of you.
Yeah.
When you get back that grade from the math test and it's a C+, you go, oh boy, I really did not know as much as I thought I knew. That's the reason why God tests his people. And so
I feel like people are going to be a little dissatisfied with that conclusion, but I would say prayer is definitely a part of whatever response that we have. But I think at the very least, these should be discussions that we're having and things that we should be having as a community.
And not just out of fear, like, oh no, why did the State Department start World War III? But as Christians, exactly what we're doing is, as Christians, this is going to touch my life. What do I do?
I don't think a little bit of fear is bad. I think what's bad is like incoherent fear, or like fear that's irrational. Like if you're looking over an edge and you go, oh man, and you're like a little like taken back a little bit because over the edge of a cliff.
Yeah.
And because you see, like, okay, there's a certain level of reverence you have for the fact that if you go over, you're done for.
Yeah.
Right. And so I feel like that's kind of the same with these situations is like, okay, I'm a little nervous that we're not really prepared for what's on the other side of this,
but the point is not to lose your head.
Right.
The point is to figure out what you're going to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to know, like, if you did go over the edge, like, you are like sealed by the blood of Jesus, like, and making sure
man, that's for sure.
You are making sure you're right in that camp first, because it's like, everybody's gonna die
after me, listener.